Welcome to the Pioneer Voice. I'm Danielle Collar, your host, and we're in our brand new painted studio here at Jefferson State Community College, and we have a very special guest with us, Dr. Constance Blaylock. Thank you so much for joining us and sharing your story with us.
I'm really excited to be here.
So you recently just graduated from Vanderbilt, correct?
Yes.
And you got your doctorate in education, correct?
Yes.
But you started here at Jefferson State.
I did.
And I'd like to say you are our very first story to highlight as an alumni success story.
I'm excited about that.
Could you tell us a little bit about your background growing up, like what high school you went to, and just where you started?
Okay. So I was wasn't born and raised, but I was born in Birmingham. Mm-hmm. I went to Gary Wood Christian School for elementary school, and then went to Homewood for Millen High School. So I'm a proud patriot. Graduated from Homewood High School in 2009. As you said, a little bit about education journey. I did start at Jeff State. Currently in my work, I've been in education for 11 years. I taught second grade reading. Oh, that's a sweet spot. Currently, I serve as the district school improvement specialist for Birmingham City Schools.
That's wonderful. And so what did you study here at Jefferson State when you came?
So when I came, I wasn't really sure what I was doing with my life. Okay. I knew that I wanted to be in education, but it's like that typical like teenage, I mean, I hate to say like rebellion, that seems so cliche, but that typical like I'm just trying to figure it out. Mm-hmm. So I think my major, and I think because my memory is not, it might have been early childhood education is what I started in, but I was taking basic core content classes. In high school, I did really well in like the English and the histories, like atypical girl, and math and sciences just were not my thing. And so I made a deal with my dad. Was like, hey, because the summer after I graduated, he said, you're going to go to Jeff State and we're going to try this out before I send you off. Okay. And he waste my money. And so I came to Jeff State. Didn't really go well taking like introductory math classes. So I think it was just a general major at first when I very first started.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was there anybody here at Jeff State that you remember like...
So I'm not great with names, but I do remember someone who worked in the admissions office who helped me with like the financial aid part. My dad was a veteran, and so I had veteran benefits. Didn't really know how to use those or how to apply them to classes. And so there was a nice lady in the office who helped me get through all of that, which was really important because I took it with me through my education journey. Right. So that was a big one. There was a teacher that I had for several classes, English classes specifically. I remember her well because I was working at Jefferson's, which is on Valley Dale, and she came in one time and I met her face to face. So I can't remember those names, but I do remember those moments, the teachers that I had, and the lady in the office who helped me with my paperwork.
What was it about Jefferson State that helped you throughout your journey?
I just wasn't ready. And so I think when I graduated, college was the big push. At 2009, it was, that's when they started doing like whether you were an athlete or not, like you're signing on to like colleges and, you're showing where you're going. And that was a thing. Your parking spot at school might have been where you were going, right? And where I went to school, I was Auburn or Alabama. Like, that was a thing. I just genuinely was not ready. Not academically. I don't think emotionally. Like college is a big deal.
Absolutely.
And that's why I'm a big advocate, like shameless plug for alternative pathways. Like I understand like college is super important, but I think there are so many pathways to, getting it done and being productive in society. But for me, I just was not ready to go off. Right. I think if I had went off to school as planned after the summer when my dad said, you're going to go to Jeff State, you're going to take 2 classes, we're going to see how you do. I don't think y'all would probably be having this conversation with me. Because I just genuinely was not ready. I think academically, I was still struggling with just it's not always about content knowledge. Sometimes it's just about skill. Right. And so I needed that smaller environment to get started where you didn't have 80 people in a stadium style class and your professor, you can't get in touch, with the person. I needed a professor I could walk up to at the end of class and say, can you help me with this? I don't know how to do this. I needed that smaller environment. And not saying that other places don't have that, because you do, Vandy was tiny as far as, those classes, but a lot of them are not like that. The larger universities, especially core content classes. I know at one time you had places where it was fully virtual for all of your core content classes, but I needed access to the people for me to get ready, like just getting the skill together, socially getting myself together, like that's a thing. We don't think that's
Absolutely.
a thing when students are going off to school, but it is like prioritizing partying and doing your work. And so those were things that I needed to learn and establish. So I think Jeff State was a good starting point for me.
Right.
I may not have always felt like that unless in full transparency, because you know how sometimes you're like, did I miss the ship? Like, you know, because you hear people that went off to school and they did, and I didn't have that experience, and that's just full transparency. I transferred to UAB. I did not transfer to somewhere away where I lived away. I lived home. In fact, my first apartment was on Valley Dale Road, like down the street from this campus. But I think I needed this for me. I needed this for my journey. It was a second chance for me. I mucked up. It's no point in lying. Like I needed this second chance to start over. And so by the time I left Jeff State, I think wasn't perfect, but I think I had a lot of skills needed to go to UAB and go on and grow and progress.
Yeah.
And even like I talked about before, I needed to learn how to use resources on my own, like, you know, without my mom having to call for me. And Jeff State did that. It was accessible. You could walk in the office. You could see 3 people at the same time on the same day, and that's rare. And so I would recommend it for any student who's starting out. There's a lot of alternative programs and pathways here,
Right.
you know, that I encourage. You know, like I know y'all have a dual enrollment programs and things like that.
Right.
And that's really important for students getting started. And then now with the cost of school, why not? Like, I'm also kind of like, why not?
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
You get as many credits as you can out of the way before, if you choose to complete. My sister completed at Jeff State. She was she's a radiology tech. She completed at Jeff State. And so it was alternative pathway for her because that's not where she started. So
Right.
I think you probably wouldn't be having, I can't bet on it, but I think everything happens for a reason. Everything is divinely aligned. So I think you probably wouldn't be having this conversation with me if I hadn't started at Jeff State.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And when you left Jeff State, where did you go after that?
I went to UAB. I transferred to UAB. So I took my credits and I transferred to UAB School of Ed. I'd finished most, if not all. I think I maybe had 2 core classes left when I went to UAB. And then most of my UAB studies were in early child and elementary education.
Okay. Did you have a strong upbringing in education? What kind of made you go towards education?
No, my parents are pastors. They worked in ministry. I always say they've lived a couple of lives. So they also worked at the IRS, retired from there, and then they went into full-time ministry. And so my mom actually still works full-time. My dad is now retired. I would say maybe teaching, because I think pastoring is like teaching. My goddad was our senior pastor, and he was very into study and learning. But as far as like educators, I won't say no educators in my family, but immediate in my view, there was no one. So I was a little weird as a kid, to the point where my dad was like, does she need therapy? Which was like, that's a hot word in the 90s. But I had like imaginary friends that I talked to every day after school. So much so that I remember one Christmas, and I don't remember a lot of childhood, my parents set up a full classroom in the basement with like desk and all the things for me to teach to my imaginary students. So it was always there. I feel like I'm very lucky. You know how people are trying to figure out what they're supposed to do? I might have been running from it at first when I first graduated high school, you know, because you hear the things like it doesn't pay well, or there's other things you can do. But I always wanted to be a teacher.
You knew that's what you wanted to do from the get-go.
100%.
That's incredible. Did you have anybody at UAB, like along your way, that was influenced you?
I think all of our professors, especially in the School of Ed, had been teachers before. And so I think that's always great when someone can give you like an inside view of what it's like, because they can mentor you in that way.
Right.
When I got to UAB, I was working full-time and going to school. I was working full-time and going to school when I was here. And so that was different, because I was always kind of that off-campus student, which is a different experience. And I'm sure Jeff State has a lot of students that's their experience. They're working full-time and living at home. So that was my experience through Jeff State and UAB. So having professors that understood what that was like. I remember, and I can call her name, I remember Debbie Fly. She was my like the one who did the Ed TPA when you're in student teaching and all those things. She actually had been a teacher at Homewood. I never had her before, but I did graduate with her son. And I remember when I was going through internship and things like that, she said, hey, you're going to stay with me and I'm going to place you close to home because I know you work full time. She knew I worked at a restaurant at night. And so I was like bucking it to get to student teaching in the morning. So having people who understood that, but then also having people who would critique your work and say, yeah, that's not very good. Like, do that again. Or your mindset about that. Like there was a professor, Dr. Loder Jackson, who helped me to see the environments that I was going to be going in and working in, and seeing the student and also seeing the challenges they may encounter, I think was important, because you know how you have your mind made up about what something is, but if you haven't experienced, then you really don't know what it is.
Right.
And so having professors like that was really critical, I think, in my journey.
Right. Help mentor you.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And then, so what was the next step after that?
So after that, I started in Birmingham. I always knew I wanted to work in Birmingham. I think once I got to UAB, and you have so many great schools, Birmingham City Schools, that surround UAB. So you do a lot of internship because you can walk there. Like you can walk to Glen Iris, you can walk to Epic, from campus. And so I applied in Birmingham City Schools. I started at Oliver Elementary School. That was my first teaching job. Wild first year. I started off in first grade. And if anyone's familiar with how it works when you're counting heads in your units, you're going to have to move to second grade because we have more students here. So that was my first year of teaching. And then I transferred to Wylam that very next year. Reason being, our local churches in Wylam, they were doing work there, and I just wanted to be connected to the work church was doing. Right. That's where I met my mentor for life, the principal that I had there. She encouraged me to get my master's degree. I don't want to quote dates because the years are running together, but I got my master's around 3 years into teaching, finished that. And then I went right back into school. I taught for 4 years before I got my first leadership position. I was an instructional coach, ELI coach at the time, which is similar to an ARI coach. So I got my first leadership position. I think I'd finished my master's, and I was starting on my master's add-on in administration. And so that's kind of where I went from there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. And then you went to Vanderbilt, right?
No. I did some other, so I'll give you the rundown. So I did instructional coaching. I taught at a charter school during COVID. I thought it was a bright idea to start my life over during COVID. So COVID hit. I was an instructional coach at the time at a local elementary school in Birmingham City Schools. And then I saw, it's a new charter coming. Like, I know these people. This will be great. So I went to the charter school there, was finishing up my admin certification there. Went back into the classroom for a year, went back out of the classroom into coaching and all the things because we didn't have administration. So it's anything that landed in that pile. Shortly after COVID and COVID response, I went back to Birmingham City Schools. That's when I started my EDS. So I did my EDS. All of this, the master's add-on EDS was through the University of West Alabama, through their online program, which a lot of teachers do. It's just easy. Right. Because you're able to do it in like these short cohorts, and it's fully virtual. While I was at I3, I met the chief academic officer. We became close. She had went to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt had never crossed my mind ever in life. Like, you're talking about the girl who was like practically failing math for most of high school, and thank God I didn't need it for second grade reading. So I didn't think that was like an option for me. And she just casually said, like, you should apply. This is, when I'm in Birmingham, I'm thinking, she's nuts, So I'm finishing up my EDS, and this was like March of 2023 or maybe February of 2023. Don't hold me to the dates. But I said, okay, if I get in, because I said I wasn't going to get a doctorate. I said I was done after my EDS. I've been in school forever at this point. But I said, if I get into Vanderbilt, I would go. So I was like, that's what I'll do. So I started like shopping schools because of course I'm thinking I'm not going to get in. So I'm like looking other places, taking those interview calls with their admissions counselors, and Vanderbilt just felt good. Like, it was really weird. I'm like, y'all want me? Like, that's what that felt like when I was, talking to admissions counselor, like, you should be here. You belong here. And he gave like tips on like your resume, what you need, you write in your, admissions paper. And, so I said, I'm just going to write an admissions paper that's like from the heart, like what I really feel about education, and just see what happens. So I don't know what the timeline was between like submitting my application and getting decision, but I got in. And so I'm telling God, like, oh, I wasn't expecting that. This was a Hail Mary. Whatever. And then I give another caveat. I said, they have to give me some money. Like, you got to give me something for me to come. I'm thinking that's definitely not happening. And so I tell my admissions person, like, I'm going to need scholarship, like, to be able to come. Like, and he's like, okay, I understand. We can't guarantee these. It was one in particular that was the largest. It was the Dean Scholarship. And he says, you only give a few of those. We have some other smaller scholarships. So in the meantime, I got a smaller scholarship. I said, that's not enough. That's not going to work. Anything. And I'm finishing on my EDS at the same time, right? So this is part of the timeline. So I can't remember if it was April or whatever. I get the Dean Scholarship.
Wow,
and so then I'm like, I have to go. I feel like Elle Woods and Legally Blonde. Like, you have to go. So I literally graduated from University of West Alabama with my EDS, I think like May 5th. And I started at Vanderbilt May 8th of 2023. So.
Wow. That's incredible.
Yeah.
So you finished? You've got your doctorate?
Yes.
And now, I know you shared a little bit about it, but what are you doing now?
So currently I serve as the District School Improvement Specialist for Birmingham City Schools, which I love. I love my job. I love Birmingham City Schools. I support all 43 of our schools in different ways, whether it's through our tutoring partnership programs that we have, or our overage at-risk youth programs that we have that also come into this office, or I work in close partnership with other departments who support schools that may just need some help with their ASIP or figuring out how to use their resources well to do really good things with students.
What makes you passionate about public education?
I think what makes me passionate about public education, which some of this has come from my own education, specifically my time at Vanderbilt, is that every child deserves, and we hear this is so cliche, every child deserves equal access to quality education that has interventions that they need for them to be successful. And so what makes me passionate about it is, I think, public education specifically is one of the ways that we combat systemic issues in our society if we do it well. So if we provide children with the necessary interventions, and that's layered support, that's not everybody's the same, that's not everyone needs the same thing. If we provide students with the necessary interventions to be successful, we can really see a real change in our society.
Oh, absolutely.
So that's what makes me passionate about it. It's because I think from my lens, and we've talked about my faith and my background a little bit, from my lens, like doing this work well is super important, because I think it's a part of what we're supposed to do. We're supposed to be in service to other people. And so to me, I'm in service to children, the smallest people amongst us. And there's this quote that I like, and I'm not going to quote the author because I might say it wrong, but the quote says, the opposite of poverty is not wealth, it's justice. And I think that starts in education and doing it really well, public education, doing it well for children, seeing the children, seeing their families, because sometimes we just see the child, but we don't see their family as well. And so I'm passionate about providing interventions to everyone. I think that's what makes it do well, bringing families alongside. That's some of the work that I think we do in Birmingham, and starting to do even better, is bringing families alongside to support students really well. And I always used to say as a second grade teacher, academic achievement is a big part of it.
Right.
But the kid is before that. That's
absolutely.
first. And so what do they need first before we start just talking about testing and test scores? And that's really important. So that layered support, when we're seeing that in our legislation now, even with organizations like A+ Education Partners rallying for us to have equitable distribution of per pupil allocations that do look at what we need to layer student interventions and support. But why I'm passionate about it, to me, is more of like, I don't know. I just think that, to me, if I say, hey, my faith is this, then I'm passionate about it, because I feel like I was given a lot kind of in my upbringing and my background. So what can I give back to other students? Like I talked about the people who helped me. So how can I be that person in my space? How can I make the biggest impact for students? How can you rally other people to see the student first and what they need? So I think that's probably why I'm passionate about it.
That's incredible. So do you have any students that maybe you feel you've seen that impact that you could share a little bit about?
So I can't share their names,
Right.
But I've had some wild cards that I loved. I was always that teacher that loved the ones that gave the hardest time because I was the hardest time. So I kind of get that. I got the most demerits when demerits were a thing. Like I got demerits all the time. And so I had students who got demerits all the time. I remember at Wylam, we always talk about this golden year. It was the last year, my last year in BCS before I went into school-based leadership as an instructional coach. And it was like all the stars aligned. It was like this amazing year. My mentors, I think I told early in the conversation, like the principal at the time there, she's my mentor for life. The instructional coach at the time, he's a chief academic officer for a local nonprofit now. We were all there together. And I remember all the stars aligning. My kids tested really well. That was the first thing. But it was the first time, I think, because I wasn't great at first. So if anyone's watching this, we have learned along the way. But that year, I think was the first year that I just moved like out of test scores and in relationship. And the thing that followed was the test scores were amazing. So I felt like that was a lightning bolt year for me. But then when I went back into the classroom, because you always learn more, it's odd when you're in instructional leadership and you see people and you're side-eyeing and then you come back and you always have learned more. So when I went back into the classroom, the very last year that I taught and for the foreseeable future probably will teach, I sobbed for probably 2 weeks, and I have people who can verify this when I left that class, because that was my COVID class. It was the most innovative I think I'd ever been. I was in love with those kids. Like I will probably cry thinking about them too long. So those students, just like the relationship that was built that year, for me, I think it was my best year ever teaching, I think that I've ever had. But they came from all different places, all different backgrounds, and we just really bonded. COVID was scary, and I think it was scary for adults, but it was really scary for students. Absolutely. You're talking about they're coming back into schools, they're behind plexiglass, and these kids were really brave. They came to a new school in the middle of COVID that had never, this is their first year in existence. And so they came to a new school, totally new environment in the middle of COVID. They're behind plexiglass. We got this crazy schedule. One day you're home, one day you're here. You're on Zoom. Right. We're teaching from Zoom. Like I'm on Zoom. Some kids are in the classroom. It was a wild year, but it was the year I feel like I was better. And so I think the kids were a reflection of me. And so that was a really good class because I think I was at my best as a teacher. And so I think that class was at best. Not that we didn't have challenges, but it was an amazing class.
That's powerful. Thank you for sharing. So it sounds like you started at Jeff State. You maybe struggled a little bit.
I did.
But you persevered. Yeah. And you had people inspiring you along the way that continued to encourage you. Do you have any encouraging words that you could give to someone who maybe doesn't know what they're doing or starting at Jeff State, and you can, share that you can go all the way?
I think the biggest thing, and this is cliche, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And so I think sometimes, you kind of shun like starts that maybe aren't less ideal. Like you didn't get that college send off, the big college send off they do now, where you're going to maybe your dream school, or you didn't like get the scholarship, or you're just trying to figure it out. Like I was a student who was just trying to figure it out. I was a hot mess express. And so I was not, the student who was starting, here, because it's like, oh, I'm just going to start and then I'm going to transfer. I had no idea what I was doing. I'm going to take a gap year. I don't know. I mean, I literally was working in medical billing and coding at Princeton Hospital at first when I first graduated, because I'm like, I have no idea what I'm doing. I am so off the beaten path. And so I think just it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I'm a firm believer in that. Like, I also think you said like my perseverance, but it's the people. Find your people, like people who can encourage you, who can give you something else to look at. I am really big, and it's always been, no, not to the men, but I met some incredible women on my journey, from the professors that I had to the financial aid counselors that I had, people helping me fill out paperwork, or just saying, you know what, you should apply. Like you're seeing something in me that I'm possibly not seeing in myself at the time. Right. And so I think just seeing the people, finding your people who can help you on your journey, I think is critically important. not letting anyone knock your small beginnings. I can remember at Vanderbilt, I kind of sometimes, like, you don't want to be that person that says, I mean, these people went to Tulane for undergrad or like Harvard for undergrad, and then there's me, you know, and you're thinking in your head like, oh, we'll don't do any intros where it's like, what's your educational journey? Because I don't want to talk about it. And so I got to the point where I was so confident in my journey that I could proudly say, no, this is where I started. Absolutely. Some of the best people, this is where they start. And I think that's really important because I met incredible people on all of my educational journey, like everywhere I went. From the people who helped me, who encouraged me, and even like my writing, I think it got better because of my educational journey. Like I look back at stuff that I wrote and I'm like, y'all give me a B on this? That's wild. Like, you know, you look back. So even having that buffer, like the skills that I needed to develop, I got them here, like study skills. I didn't have it like from high school. I didn't. I had an amazing mom, and she won't mind me saying that. She's going to watch this pod, but she is a definition of a helicopter. So there was no failing in high school, right? Because I had a mom who was looking. So when you're on your own and you're trying to figure it out, this was a great place to like get those study skills. I didn't have any. Like I didn't have any coming out of high school. I developed them here, and I do think I carry that with me. Even knowing how to use resources in a smaller space, like when you're in these larger colleges and there's 30 buildings and you can't find parking, it can be frustrating even figuring out how to use resources. I learned how to use resources here. And so I think that's important, but I think the biggest thing is it's not where you start. You got a long way to go.
Yeah. That's great. Well, is there anything that you would like to share with us that we haven't discussed?
I think that's always the question that I get wrong in interviews. So like, do you have any questions for us? And I'm like, no, I don't have any questions. I don't have any questions. I appreciate you all having me.
Oh, we appreciate you so much for being here. We're very proud of you. It's so nice to highlight, just exactly like you said, it's not where you start, but where you finish. So thank you, Dr. Blaylock, for being with us today. We are very proud to have you as alumni at Jefferson State Community College, and thank you for sharing your story.
Thank you for having me. I had a great time.
Absolutely. And if you want to learn more, hear more success stories, please tune in, subscribe to the Pioneer Voice. Thank you.